Alright, so here with another week here. This was the previous week, right? Very bullish close here, taking out the previous week's high. I left this here because I wanted to see what we do at these highs, right? I mean, these are pretty equal highs here. Nonetheless, this is a little bit higher. Going into the week, I made a mistake. I didn't realize this was a Easter week. And Easter week, Good Friday is usually Friday. There's no trading. So Good Friday, which is a Friday, obviously, is no trading. So Monday I don't trade. So technically, there's probably Tuesday to Thursday, arguably, you can trade. But again, the market didn't really do anything. So if you look at a weekly, this is an inside week, right? After a bullish close like that, we wanted to expand higher, but obviously this is an inside week, so next week would be maybe an expansion week. So economic weekly bias was slightly bullish. Weekly profile will be hard to do a weekly profile with only 3 days of trading. Potentially 3 days of trading. Economic calendar, let's look at the economic calendar here. We did have some high impact news coming in on Thursday. 8:30 news was the high impact news in my mind, and which is the GDP news. And then Friday again, PCE price index, which is a red folder news as well. So we had a couple news, but the market was closed on Friday, so that kind of negates it. So the only high impact news we had was Thursday at 8:30. So let's look at what we did here. So if you look at the objectives, POI for 4 hours, right? After a bullish week like this, we want to identify POI within this week, right? So there's usually two or three POIs that I identify on 4-hour chart. One of them being this fair value gap on 4-hour chart here, right? And another POI being this order block that formed after these down close candles were formed, right? If we look at a 1-hour chart, this was that POI that I was talking about. So those are the two POIs that I was looking at. Going into Friday, we had a TGIF Friday, right? Last week we talked about that, and then this becomes the POI for this week on Monday. Monday is no trade for me. We had a push down, and then Thursday we turned back up to that POI, and I took a trade here, and I'll show you that trade, a long trade here, thinking that will be a bullish week as well. So Monday created the low of the week. Tuesday we're going to push higher, but I was wrong with that trade. Thankfully I didn't lose any money. I was able to close out once I saw the market structure more clearly. And then I took another trade on Wednesday. Wednesday was the better trade because I realized the market structure, and the draw on liquidity was this midpoint of that fair value gap on 4-hour chart here. So that was a POI as well. So those are the two trades that I took, and we didn't have a next day model here off of 1 hour, and the reason being, again, it was only a 2 to 3 days trading day. So if you look at, let's look at the trading now, what we took. If you look at Tuesday was the first day that I traded at that. This is the long that I took, thinking that the weekly draw was still up top here, right? Weekly draw is still up top. We came into this order block that was left from London session. We had a change in state of delivery with a down close candle, and this is where I started to enter, and my take profit was up here, but we never reached it up here. I just saw these wicks getting rejected off of this order block here, so I closed out the trade. Nonetheless, it was a profitable trade, but not the ideal trade. And then the second trade that I took was on Wednesday, and the reason being, on an hourly chart, we had a change in state of delivery here, the up close candle. This down close candle is closing below this up close candle. That becomes a little bit more visible here, right? So we had a breaker here, order block here, change in state of delivery here, right? And then this is where I entered. I think it was off a 5-minute chart that I ended up entering. Yeah, so anything returned back up to this, I entered here, and my take profit was below that CE of that fair value gap. So that was a trade, and that closes out this week's trading. Going into next week, what to expect? Well, when you look at the seasonality for NQ versus ES, they have two different seasonalities around this time of the year, where NQ is unable to break highs, kind of consolidates. ES pushes these highs and continues to go higher. So the seasonality for these two are very different this time of the year. So going into next week, I would want to see those differences play out and trade accordingly. Just an addendum to that trades here. So going into Thursday, we had an 8:30 news, right? And I didn't trade the 8:30 news. What I did saw was the fact that we came up into this order block here. This was the 1 hour next day model that could have potentially played out, but as you can see, day before Good Friday, just consolidation. So I entered here for a short position. I took profit here, but again, wasn't a good meaningful trade. The idea was based off of this fact that we had an order block off of 1 hour, and my take profit objective was here, or below this low would have been the take profit objective, but never reached it down there. And as you can see, I entered here, I closed out below this low, we had another shot up, and then kind of just consolidated.